You know, I can't speak enough for folks who gather enough money, gather enough of a crew and cast, and try to make an independent film. It is not easy. And especially if you're trying to make a serious one. But every independent movie maker has similar problems. The first is always the script. The second is always the cast. And the third is the crew. Now, tonight's lesson is a perfect example of all three. Cinematic class is about to begin, and the professor is in. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's class. I'm Fiore, your professor of cinema, and it is actually the night before I'm in the studio to produce the award-winning Outtakes with Fiore. And I saw this movie today, and obviously because it's so late, I am not going to have enough time to include it in tomorrow's episode. So it's actually going to have to wait about 10 days to go into the next episode. But I wanted to do this little video capsule critique on the movie called Fortune Defies Death. This way, you'll know about it, and you won't have to wait for the full TV show. You can see this little capsule critique and fill you in on things. Now, I mentioned some of the drawbacks and I teased them really in the beginning, but this movie actually had a lot of good things going for it. Let's start with what I opened with, the script. Okay, when you're writing a script and you're doing an independent film, of course you want to make your mark. You want to make sure that you stand apart from the typical studio box office schlock that comes out week after week after week. And the problem with that is sometimes the script gets a little bit too complicated. And that's what happened in this movie here. It's a whodunit. And it's set up like Clue, the game. You know, it's the butler in the library with the candlestick. Yeah, that type of thing. It's even referred to in some of the dialogue. This is like the game Clue. So it's nice in that sense that it kind of pokes at itself. But like that game, the script is just a little too complicated. You know, there are too many twists, and that's a death knell for thrillers. And the movie carries on for just a little bit too long. It's almost 2 hours long. And once again, this thing could easily have fit into 90 minutes, a little bit more compact, a little bit more trim, and I think you had a more solid piece there. Now, the cast is also another one, and this cast is interesting. But the characters in the cast are stereotypes of characters we've all come to know and love in thrillers. But unfortunately, the actors in this movie are playing to their stereotypes. And as such, it comes off as really a little bit hokey on all of this. It just, they're trying too hard, and it looks like it on camera. And the second or third part, I thought, was the crew. But I gotta tell you, this is where this movie kind of jumps up ahead and, as Emerald would say, turns it up a notch. This movie starts with a black and white sequence as the as the prologue, the beginning of the movie. It looks great. Talk about film noir. They have captured, we have big castle mansion thing, cars driving up, the whole shadow thing. The opening scene of this movie, I was like, wow, this could be great. It was really that good. Now, after they put up the premise and the setup, the movie jumps 10 years into the future, and the color dissolves into, or the black and white rather, dissolves into color, and the movie picks up from there. So the black and white and the film noir aspect kind of leaves, and that's when the game aspect comes over. But I gotta give kudos to Jack Schaefer. He is the director of photography. Time for a little bit of a lesson. Basic camera composition. You have three types of vectors. You have a motion vector, a graphic vector, and an index vector. And those of you who are my former students are probably sitting there going, I remember all this stuff. Okay. To set up and frame a shot with one of those vectors certainly takes skill. But what Jack Schaefer has done is he has mixed and combined them, not only in the opening sequence that's in black and white, but even as we traverse the 10 years into the future and we go into color and the rest of the story, he is mixing index with graphic vectors, and they're creating a frame that is purposely contrasting. It's great stuff. I got to tip my hat, Jack Schaefer. Yeah, you made this movie fun to watch. The shot composition in this was absolutely fantastic. So you have a few things that are kind of a drawback. You have the acting is a bit stiff. The script is probably too long with too many twists. And I got to tell you, there's a couple of really big holes in this script. And just as an example, the lawyer who's lording over the reading of the will all of a sudden decides he has the power of when to call the police and when not, and when someone needs to go to the hospital and when someone doesn't. And you're scratching your head saying, okay, I know it was a limited budget, but that's probably a step, especially for a lawyer who's supposed to know about it. Okay, I don't want to get off on that too much. If you are a fan of good cinematography and good frame composition, you're going to like this movie. And again, Jack Schaefer is the guy, director of photography, did a great job putting the vectors together in this. Like most independent films, a lot of this was done by one person, and that is Jennifer Hullum. She helped write the film, she directed the film, and she edited the film. And, you know, hey, hats off to you. I'd like to see her do some more work. As long as she can kind of like tighten up her work a little bit, I think we got some talent here, and I think we could have some decent productions coming down the road from Jennifer Hullum. The name of the movie is Fortune Defies Death. It's a little stiff. It's a little too long, but you're going to like the way it looks, and it holds a whole lot of promise for Jennifer in future endeavors. Now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.